And for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and as we'll do a quick roll call vote, Ms. Arp.
Here.
Mr. Byers excused, Ms. Ensley.
Here.
Ms. Conley is excused, Ms. Holland.
Here.
Ms. Powell.
Here.
Mr. Riesinga has tendered a letter of resignation. Mr. Wilks. You heard from Tom? Thank you. Mr. Ringler is here. Public comments. I will say this is the informational meeting. The regular meeting will follow. So if you guys are waiting to speak, you may want to wait for the next one, but those citizens wishing to speak on agenda or non-agenda items, we allowed a maximum of 4 minutes each to address their concerns. This is the only time during the meeting citizens are allowed to address the DDA. Please state your name and address for the record if you would like. Hearing none in the informational meeting, you want to go to the regular one?
This is a different,
This is the informational one.
just,
There's 2 meetings.
okay,
This one will take about 3 minutes.
okay.
Okay. There's a quick timeout, but we'll move on to our informational presentation, Mr. Womack.
3 minutes. I like your optimism.
Going from
So,
precedent, and we're trying to be efficient here.
as you guys will recall from last year, this is a new thing that the state of Michigan is requiring under law. So we're required to do, I think, 2 informational meetings each year. Mostly to keep the public informed about how TIF districts operate. So as you're aware, the DDA is funded by TIF plan. And so what I'd like to talk about today is your tax increment financing plan and DDA development plan, specifically subpart 11, XI, if you're speaking Latin today. Pedestrian and bicycle improvements. So I noted a couple things in here, things that are currently being worked on, and at least one thing that we might want to work on. So the 2022 Main Street resurfacing project, board put, I think, $20,000 to that project, which will be accomplished sometime this year. And a significant portion of that project is going to be the redevelopment of the sidewalks that abut Main Street from 17 Mile to 18 Mile, although mostly the sidewalks from the downtown section. And that's being undertaken to comply with ADA requirements. So the current entrance into the side streets and Main Street will be modified to fully complete with ADA. And in addition, there will be 3 curb bump outs placed in the downtown, Maple Street, Cherry Street, and the street just south of here. It was originally going to be Ash Street, but now it's down 1 block by the Legion. And of course, that will enable people to cross over Main Street. Currently, it's about a 45-foot wide opening over the road. As you guys know, we have some pretty big trucks that go down through the downtown. And it can be a little hairy trying to cross Main Street. So those curb bump outs will reduce that crossing from 45 feet down to about 27 feet. It also will naturally slow down traffic and some other things, good road diet. So another thing that we're going to be working on are the 2nd Street and 5th Street sidewalks. The projects that came through the CDBG. I don't know if the DDA helped fund that, but they are pedestrian and bicycle improvements that are going on in the downtown. So I included those maps into your packet here, so you guys can kind of see what's going on there. It does affect some of the businesses in the downtown, specifically in the back of 2nd Street. So hopefully we've worked with your business to figure out what's going to go on back there if necessary. Then the last thing I wanted to address is a public bicycle repair station. This is something we've talked about in the past, but we never took any action on. I've been compiling kind of some information about what it would cost. It looks like it's about $1,500 to $2,000 per bicycle station. It's something we can budget for if you guys want to in this upcoming year. It's also something that I'm getting a grant. Yeah. If you include the pump, the air pump. So obviously something we can focus on if you want to, but it's something that the DDA could fund itself entirely, or it's something you could go halvesies with a business on, and try to determine the location for its installation. With that, I guess I'll take any questions you guys have about anything, but specifically about pedestrian and bicycle improvements.
4 minutes, that's pretty good.
Al?
I was wondering, bicycle repair station, kind of maybe a complicated, situation, and we should have it someplace where we can keep a close eye on it.
So, good idea. One of the things that I'm concerned about is if we were to put it at the staging area, which is the most, I guess I'd say, beneficial and easily accessible for actual bicyclists on the White Pine Trail,
Mhm,
it's not near anywhere that it can be kept an eye on.
mhm.
So alternative locations might be at the library. Good thing we have a representative from the library here today. Because obviously staff and they have video cameras there. They also have a bike rack there. But an alternative location might be at the brewery. They do have a significant bike rack there as well. And there's also the Loom alleyway. They have an air pump there, but no bicycle repair station.
Mhm.
Obviously, if it were to go on a business's property, we would need permission, kind of agreement to that effect. But also you might want to have the business pay half of that cost. Then you could brand it as, supported by both the business and the DDA.
Mhm. So what would, you feel about that, Dave? Since you have the most
I'm sure this
bicycle.
will come up in a regular meeting
Okay.
later. This is informational, but we would be very amiable, as I would think the library would as well, but I think that's the best spot. We have cameras on ours. I think you guys have cameras, so. So if there's any other questions, otherwise I would seek a motion to adjourn the informational meeting for 2023.
Oh,
All right. Meeting adjourned. So we will move forward to our annual reorganizational meeting. The city clerk, please, will call the meeting to order, and we will stand again for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and all right, so the first order of business, I need to issue the oath of office for the reappointed members. We have Jody Arp, Rose Powell, and Pam Conley. We'll go ahead and do Pam's at a later date since she's not here. So if Rose and Jody would stand, raise your right hands. I, Jody Arp, and I, Rose Powell, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Michigan, the City Charter and Code of Ordinances of the City of Cedar Springs, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Downtown Development Authority member to the best of my abilities.
yes, ma'am.
What kind of restaurant? You
I
have a
know,
pen?
it's very different person. And next I will open up the floor for nominations for the office of chairperson. Are there any nominations?
I'll nominate Dave Ringler.
Nominations do not require a second. I will ask if there are any other additional nominations.
And his favorite.
Hearing none. I'll close the floor for nominations. Mr. Ringler, will you accept your nomination?
Yes, I am.
All right, I will now call the roll call vote for Mr. Ringler for chairperson. Miss Arp,
Yes.
Miss Ensley. Yep. Miss Howland,
Yes.
Miss Powell,
Yes.
Mr. Ringler.
Present.
You vote yes.
Present.
All right, motion carries, so now I will issue your oath of office. You would please stand. I, Dave Ringler, do solemnly swear, affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Michigan, City Charter and Code of Ordinances of the City of Cedar Springs, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Downtown Development Authority Chairperson to the best of my ability.
I will. The last time I said that, it was a lifetime sentence.
Yeah.
Join the crowd, Dave.
I'll turn the meeting over to you.
Thank you. And then we would open the floor to nominations for the office of Vice Chairperson. I would like to nominate Ms. Ensley.
You can do it.
Any other nominations?
Just sit there.
So, hearing none and seeing none, we will also do a roll call vote. Ms. Arp,
Yes.
Ms. Ensley.
Yep.
Ms. Howland,
Yes.
Ms. Powell,
Yes.
Mr. Ringler votes yes.
Yes.
Outstanding. We will move then on to, oops, sorry.
That's all right. I, Laura Ensley, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the city charter and code of ordinances of the city of Cedar Springs, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Downtown Development Vice Chairperson to the best of my ability. Yes, ma'am.
Outstanding. Then we will move on to attendance, a roll call. Ms. Arp,
Here.
Mr. Byer is excused. Ms. Ensley, Ms. Conley is excused. Ms. Howland,
Here.
Ms. Powell,
Yes, I'm here.
Mr. Ringler is present. Mr. Wilks is not on. Oh, there he is at the bottom. Okay. And he did just call. He has a sick kid and he'd forgotten to call earlier, so. All right, now we move on to public comments. Those citizens wishing to speak on agenda and non-agenda items will be allowed a maximum of 4 minutes each to address their concerns. This is the only time during the DDA meeting that they are allowed to address the board. Please state your name and address for the record if you would like. Thank you for your patience.
Perry Hopkins, 90 North Main Street. Before I get to what I was originally gonna talk about, I want to mention he's talking about the curb bump outs. Some places, they think it's a great idea to put little pocket parks in them. I think it's a bad idea just because it's already hard to see around the corners. And so we don't want to put anything more in there. So there's my sense on that, other than the fact that they can be good. But the other thing I wanted to really talk about was if we're looking at events, I mentioned at the chamber meeting this last month that I think it'd be a good time for us to relook at the idea of doing a New Year's event. It wouldn't be that hard to do. We've seen that Main Street can be closed down and the world doesn't come to an end. So if we did a close off of Main Street and put like a crane of some sort, dropping some sort of a red ball, whether it's flannels or something else at midnight, we could have set so there's a stage in front of the brewery and one in front of the Redbird at them intersections, and we'd alternate bands at the night. And with the social district, we wouldn't need to have the traditional beer tent that some places think you need to have a New Year's event. And I think it'd be a good way to bring the community together to work together on an event. And so when you're looking at your budget for that, your budget's halfway through the year, I presume, right? And so that would be next year's budget that you would consider that, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hopkins. We will move on to any conflicts of interest and ex parte communication. Alrighty, approval of agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
In favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. And thank you, the consent agenda, a motion to approve the minutes of our last regular meeting on December 19th and to accept and file the financial report that is contained in your packets.
Motion.
Discussion. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Move on to any unfinished business. Our DDA penance.
So, this is something that we took care of a couple months back. There was a motion and it was approved to sell pennants for, I think, $50 a piece and donate a couple. However, I don't have the staffing time to handle that. So I wanted to bring it back to the board to see if one of the members would like to kind of take charge of that and start talking to businesses or museum, et cetera, to see about getting those sold and or donating them.
We can carry them, we can certainly put them in the store next door, and Rose, if you wanna lead the charge and make people know, help people know they're available, we'll certainly buy We're gonna- a couple.
Yeah.
I think several of us would like,
yes.
and make sure
Well-
that they get donated as well.
Okay, say, I did get one to the fire department. I haven't heard from, Marty if they actually got it. I'll double check on that. Sally and I talked about working together on that. Would you rather have it over at
Doesn't matter to me. Like I said to you, I would display them, hang them out if he's got more
No,
space.
that's fine. I was just gonna put them in the store, space next door, cause it's empty right now. so.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
maybe they could hang in the windows, it might be a little more,
It would be
Sure.
much
Don't
more
get sun
visible.
faded, but we won't want them there too long.
pretty hardy, I'll tell you what. So I'll work with you. I think some of them are in wonderful condition and some of them are in bad condition. So I think we ought to be a little more flexible with the price. $50 might be too much. $5 might be too much. So I don't know. Well, I'll talk with you, Dave, when I get a inventory. There they are.
Would we be able to arbitrarily,
So the motion is to sell them for $50 a
right,
piece.
that's what I was saying, we would have to revisit that, I think, at some point, would we not?
I guess my recommendation would be to pick out the ones that might be worth $50.
Right?
Hmm.
The rest be
Okay.
ones that are not.
There are some that actually say Cedar Springs on it. I would say they might be a little more valuable and some don't relate to anything other than it's a pennant. So I guess we'll work on that, Dave, and try to get some of those sold. And I've got
Over here, Rose.
at least one. I have two of them at home to donate to the museum so that I wanted to make sure that they didn't get mixed in with the ones that are kind of beat up. So on we go, we'll get on it.
I can arrange a day to come pick those up then, and I gotta go to Grand Rapids after this, so.
Would the board be comfortable with having Ms. Powell be in charge of selling and accounting for the money that's obtained selling those pennants?
I can do it if y'all trust me.
Works for me.
So the money is owned by the DDA.
DDA, yes. Mhm.
You'd have to give an accounting to City Hall.
Will do. Will do.
Great, thank you.
You need a vote?
I think we already had to vote.
Okay,
Just procedural, yeah.
okay.
Okay, facade signage improvement program.
We talked about this last month. I don't remember coming to any kind of conclusion and I didn't have time to write the Cedar Springs version. But you know, it's also a question of, are we going to budget for this? And do we want this to apply to both facades and signage? Do we care about one more than the other? This is something that's definitely included in your development plan to help fix up older buildings that need a little bit more help. But if we're not gonna budget for it, it's gonna be a lot of extra work for me for no reason. And there are gonna be some finer points within the actual ordinance at some point that we're gonna have to address. So for example, we want brand new businesses who are just showing up to be able to get $10,000 or something to open up their business as a welcome to the community. Or is this gonna be more, hey, you've been here for 5 or 10 years and we, you know, here's somebody to help update your business. Those are the types of questions that will have to be addressed at some point. But I bring it back to you to see, again, I think I've got 5 or 6 different options here. If you guys had a strong preference one way or the other. For a program that I would model ours off of.
You know where these are in these packets? Cause there's about 200 pages in this one.
They would start at about page
Right.
107.
I think based on our brainstorming meeting, there's some appetite for doing this. Is there not? I mean,
We could also start off small, say, you know, this year it's signage only. Because I think exterior facade improvements are gonna be a little bit more complicated. Versus, you know, some of the signage, and of course, you guys know this better than I do. That some of these box signs, plastic inserts, I mean, what do those cost? $100 maybe?
plastic itself, but the
Yeah,
the
so the
box-
plastic
the
itself.
boxes, vagaries
So
are
if you've
more-
got an old box sign with a piece of plastic that's 20 years old and it's all yellow and faded, maybe, a couple $1,000 could replace multiple signs. If you start small.
Just thinking, you look around town and most of the facades are in pretty darn good shape. In my opinion, we should look at the signs and see what we can do to help folks improve their signs. Just my opinion. There's a couple of buildings that have improved to some degree. A lot of these businesses are rentals. So, I do think there's room for improvement on some of the signs, but
I think any improvement obviously is welcome. I mean, to me, it would just be making sure. I would want something other than a straight handout. I mean, obviously that they would have skin in the game too.
yes,
I think it should be 50.
My idea would be at least a 50-50 match.
yes.
Is this board, interested in helping brand new businesses who come to town? That they could ask for a 50-50 match on a new sign, or is this gonna be a older established businesses only replacing older signs?
Do to both.
Yes.
What about if they own the building versus it being a rental?
It could be different because you can't always make an improvement on a building that you don't own.
Exactly, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, like, so if we say, if it's a new business owner that comes to town that owns the building
Mhm.
versus it being a rented building.
I'm sure the landlord would have to step in and say, yeah, you can start tearing off the old one or putting on a new one, would be
So-
important.
So for the city, we have, as part of the zoning process, we ask them, are you the owner of the building? And if
Yes.
not, we then require a written approval from the business owner or the property owner.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I'm,
so I-
I'm torn about signs. I feel like it should be the building itself.
Yeah.
That's my
Well,
personal.
it could also be both,
Both, yeah.
Yeah.
see who applies for what. The real question is gonna be how much money.
I was just saying that our anchor is going to be budget anyway. It's not like
Yeah.
we have a ton of money or we probably are not going to see a huge influx of people coming after it. But I think it'll be one of those things where there's a fund that if it doesn't get used for a year, will roll over and you just continue to contribute to the fund so that you have a pot there when and if the need comes around with a qualified business. Our issue is going to be working through what are those qualifications and what do we want? Is there a limit on it, obviously?
Yeah, I feel like there's gotta be like a dollar amount limit that we match them at.
Well, it doesn't have to be 50-50 either. I mean,
Yeah.
that's was thrown out there, but I mean, for me personally, I'd like to read through some of these, which obviously I've not done. This is the first, I think I've seen all 5 of these, but
They're all gonna be similar in scope. It's mostly just what format do you like? But, these little basic questions about, is it gonna be signage or facade? Is it gonna be, 50% or 25%? That's,
I think if we're saying signage and we're doing it on a rented building, right? And that sign can only be used for that specific business, it's
Right.
kind of like a waste of our money, right? It should be a sign that could be changed if it's a rented building. That's just my,
well, and so this kind of comes down to how long has that business been there? It makes total sense to me that if a business comes into town and says, I'd like to open up, can I have money? You could be skeptical and say, you might not be here in 6 months. Because we've had several businesses in the downtown who didn't last 6 months.
that's what I'm saying, if a sign that can be changed, I mean, we still have a nice looking sign that just maybe it's a box sign, which I know you're not a humongous fan of, but they are also easily changed and we still have a decent looking sign
Yes.
instead of.
I'm just looking real quick at the East Lansing one and just as an example, but they have transformational restoration improvements are 50% match up to 10,000. Signs and awnings are a repair and replacement for existing businesses. does not cover new signs, and that's a 25% match up to 1,000. And maintenance, masonry repair, cleaning, stucco, blah, 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 and that's a 25% match also up to 2,500. So there's scales that we could potentially develop. And quite honestly, this might be almost a workshop thing that we want to
Sure.
do another one of those and brainstorm a little bit.
'Cause there's so many different aspects of it.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
There's just too many different aspects of it, whether.
Well,
it's
I
the
know I'm
system-
throwing a bunch at you.
Yeah.
And again, I feel bad. I don't have as much time to work on your stuff as I'd like to. But, you know, I'm hoping to have an assistant in here at some point. This would be one of the projects I'd give them to help put something together for you to maybe have a workshop session so you can go line by line, how much do you want to dedicate towards this? Again, we're getting into the budget season. I want to make sure that you're thinking about this.
Start thinking. Oh, it's good timing.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we all right tabling that discussion then for the time being? We move on then to new business, preliminary budget priorities.
Yeah, sometimes again, I put this stuff in there just so you have ready access to it in one place. You can kind of see what we did last year. Again, it's been a little difficult this past year because I haven't had the time to do the stuff I want to. We did put 10,000, I think, in your budget for a staff person, which would hopefully be appointed to be the director here so that they have more time to work on your priorities. But we also lost some money, something like $20,000 out of your budget due to a calculation error. So you guys are going to be looking at about $50,000, a little bit over $50,000 is my guess next year. So that's part of it. We also just discussed the facade improvement stuff, which could be a significant cost. And then concerts in the park and movies at the Kent. Those are two budget items that I think in years past we've had donations for. This year we haven't had those donations yet. Still working on that, but for the time being, I think there's about $1,500, $2,000 in that specifically budgeted item. And I believe concerts in the park and movies at the Kent cost about $4,000 to $5,000 each. So you're either looking at a significant budget for that in your upcoming year, or we seek
Page
donations.
147 has the
We drop some of the concerts and some of the movies. There's different ways we can work on it. It's a question of how important are these things to the local economy?
Do we know what we've spent on snow yet so far this year?
Don't. I can send an email out later on if you'd like.
Just, obviously the winter's not over, but I was just curious. We had about 12,000 dedicated just to snow removal, so.
Well, and your budget's in fairly good shape. I mean, you guys have a decent fund balance. Don't remember, so you guys approved putting, I think, up to 30,000 towards one of the park improvements. Can't remember which one it was.
20 to the parking lot. Parking lot improvement, which I think ended up being the street donation.
Yeah, but no, this is going back to the DNR. So we had two park projects this past year. One was the natural playground in the Harsier Springs. The other was a pocket park at 17 North Main. This board, I think, proposed up to 30,000 for one of those. I can't remember which one. If it was the DNR natural playground, that did not get approved. You guys are off the hook for the 30,000. But the other one, that project's still going forward. In any case.
47 has.
Concerts in the park, movies at the Kent. I believe that's one of the reasons Mr. Hopkins is here. If you guys have questions about that, I think that cost about $4,200, $4,500 last year. Now, it was a tough year with Main Street closed. I think concerts in the park is pretty well established, but again, last year was rough. You could speak on that more if you'd like, but I attended just about every concert over the last 2 years. Last year, significantly downward trend towards people attending this concert.
I think what we discussed at Chamber, and I was there, we really feel the need to have someone who is especially dedicated to promote these activities. As I talk to people from the Cedar Springs area, and they say, how come nothing ever goes on in Cedar Springs? And I'm going, well, did you go to the concerts in the park? No, I didn't know about it. And, other activities that happen in Cedar Springs? No, I didn't know about it. So what can we do as a group to promote these things? I just don't know.
I can say they're all on social media and they're all on the community pages. We no longer have a local newspaper. So when you get into traditional media, you're gonna spend more than we have.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, that's
also,
kind of what,
these are free events.
I know, I
Um,
know.
I don't know how much money you want to put into advertising for free events.
Well, we talked about someone who was dedicated to promoting them somehow.
they're
I
still
don't-
gonna promote though. You're gonna spend money either on somebody, but what are they gonna do? If they're doing free advertising, again, we're doing social media. I can tell you that it's on the DDA page and we have put it on our business page for all of those events. It was on every single week. And we would share those to the community pages as well. Unless you're
Yeah,
gonna
no,
spend money, what, there's not.
Talking about spending some money, hand out flyers at our different organizations, churches, anywhere we go. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, we donated posters. I don't know how many of them got hung, but
So a couple things before you might want to speak to Mr. Hoffman. So I'm hoping to have a person on board, either as an assistant city manager or another idea I've kicked around is like an event coordinator,
Yeah,
which would be a very limited position, maybe 8 to 10 hours per week. It would be specifically for these types of events, these movies and the concerts. Somebody who can help me set up, somebody who can go talk to the band, make sure they're situated, somebody who can hand out flyers to people as they're sitting there and hanging out, answer questions for them. It'd be a good summer job for somebody, a teenager,
yes,
but it costs money.
yes.
And again, unless you're gonna put it in the Rockford newspaper, social media is where it's at. These things have been
Mhm.
for years put
I
in
know.
social media.
I know, but how, not everybody's on social media. Like if we had 100 or so when they come into the restaurant or the brewery. Here you go, this is our lineup for this summer.
Of events.
Yeah,
Yes.
we would, yeah, try to hang a poster with the concerts on it in the restaurant.
And also take it to your church or your club, like women's club or garden club or your church or whatever club you're in, and hand them out and say, this is our lineup for this summer. We'd love to see you there.
But I think,
That's kinda what
again, I think
started
some
it.
of that's gone on. I know we printed a bunch and gave to people to do exactly that, but obviously it's gonna take people every bit as dedicated as Rose Powell to go out and hand them out to everybody. That's the point though.
Yeah,
Unless you're gonna spend money, and if you get in traditional media, we could spend our entire budget on traditional media for free events. So you get into the question. I think when we talked about this before, we liked the idea of all them, of all the events. We liked the idea of the movies again. So we were willing to fund them again. But
what was your take on it, Harry, on our discussion at council or
Well, my
chamber?
take was, I think you're referring to this, thing we brought up at Councilman at that DEA brainstorming thing. It said the chamber had 10,000 put towards an individual. City had 10,000 put towards an individual. Doing the job like what he's referring to, but also do more marketing. Cause it's all volunteers. We just don't have time to do that unless we're gonna pay our staff to do that. And so hiring somebody for $10,000 a year, that's not a very good paycheck. But if the city had 10 grand, DEA had 10 grand, I'm just going out.
now we did budget 10 grand last year for one.
So if you hired the same person to work for the multiple entities, it may make them wanna stick in the game versus saying, well, yeah, I can do it, and we figured, no, I ain't got time. So you gotta have enough.
But even beyond that, as I was saying though, if you're going to market and promote, I mean, printing flyers costs money. Putting radio ads costs money, newspaper ads cost money, billboards cost money. The side of trucks and cannabis shops cost money, so.
I have a question. You guys would promoting promoting on social media, have you guys ever done like that through Facebook? Because that is like the best way of getting targeted.
For the people that are on it, but Rose is absolutely correct. There's nothing's gonna hit everybody, so a true marketing
That would
program,
be
you're
the
gonna be,
next step, is to
right.
get the business owners and when they conduct the sale, we'll just attach a flyer to, the sale and say, hey, we parking. Most of the business owners here are for it, so it's really just talking to them and having flyers and gateway to the transaction. You hit both markets and you're really saturating the market with your effort. And it's not something that you're having to pay one dedicated person. You have your staff at your, the workplace and doing it for you.
As long as somebody coordinates it.
Yeah, and somebody's gotta do that part. You're not paying $20,000 to advertise it.
Mr. Ringler, since we are discussing concerts in the park and movies at the con, you guys want to discuss, do we want to go full bore again this year? Scrounge for the money. 'Cause I think we did 10 concerts in the park and maybe 8 or 10 movies at the Kent Theater. Where do you guys want to go with it?
I think the last time that we had a meeting and actually discussed that, I think the board was in favor of continuing both of those again this year. Anybody's had a change of heart, but we did want to. Obviously, we're not at our budget meeting yet, but there was ambition and the will to do so again.
So last year I asked the Kent Theater to look at comedy movies for the Kent, comedies at the Kent. You guys have a type of movies that you'd like to see at the Kent Theater this year? If they're able to?
Mr. Hopkins, can you speak to maybe what was more popular? I mean, my sense would be family movies would be more popular, but you might have more insight than we. Ours?
Smoking the band that we have to go out there with their friends. And that one had the most. And we had some that requested Bullet and some other ones, Steve, with that, well, we already got the schedule set. But I don't know if you wanna do sports cars, some sort of thing with that,
We're all open to it. We just want to support it.
Yeah.
We're trying to get activity downtown and obviously between you and the other folks, Len and with Kent Theater, if you guys have a theme or an idea that you want to run
Well,
with.
I know that Glenn and Tom maybe wants to get what. Series out.
I think that's a niche taste.
Yeah. I kind of-
I thought about classics. It's hard to go wrong with something like Wizard of Oz. You're gonna have kids who can enjoy that, adults who can enjoy it, people who haven't seen it in years, who are gonna stop by and see it. I love Westerns, I really do, but I think you're gonna have a very specific demographic who comes out to see that movie.
If you go with the classics, all fit on their classics,
Classics at the
Mhm.
Kent.
and they're cheaper.
There you go.
We like that.
You're speaking pseudo government agency language right there. All right. Any other discussion on the concerts or the budget for now? We'll move on to domain names. I guess this is partially me. I brought this up last year. We did, we wanted to keep several names going just in case, so we didn't lose them. In case we wanted to develop a website that would be used to market these types of activities. We had 3 of them that we renewed. They're, I think, $15 a year, so it was $45, which I had and just renewed and the DDA reimbursed. And they are up for renewal again, so we can either let them go, we can save one, we can keep all 3. But at some point, we probably ought to look at having a website developed that would have some of these activities on there that we can point to.
How about we keep the heart of cedarsprings.com?
That's the one I would pick too.
Yes.
The full long name.
Heart of Cedar Springs, yep.
Makes no difference to me. Whatever you guys think is To do,
Sometimes people.
one, two, or
complain
three.
about the length of the city's website, which includes the full name. I was looking at Heart of CS. If that's a common nomenclature for the city, I think people would get it. Be shorter, easier to do on cell phones.
Has anything come up? Has anybody tried it? There might be.
I think right now they all forward to the Facebook page. So you can put any of those domains in and it goes to the Facebook page that was started by Mr. Hopkins. Was it? Yeah. Was it?
But if it's,
Fair enough, that's where it goes, but
if it's a domain name that's by the city, again, it's a task you can maybe give to an assistant who could put it together really easy, basic page. Something that's just there to advertise.
well, and if we had the point, I can transfer them to whoever
It's
to.
Very minimal amount of money, $45, maybe we just keep them.
But up to you, we would, as it would be financial, I would need a motion to do whatever we want to do.
I'll make the motion to keep the domain names we've already created.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
Just to clarify, so that's for all three of them.
Believe so. How many, what is all three of them? One is Heart of Cedar Springs and the others is,
Heart of Cedar and.
There's heartofcedar.com, heartofcs.com, and heartofcedarsprings.com.
we could probably get rid of Cedar. There's a lot of other cities called Cedar.
We would own them.
Dave's like, "May I?"
For
So
50
Do we
many.
want to?
Well, that's, I mean, yeah, in a business sense, you do. I mean, anything that's even close to Cedar Springs Brewing, I own. I mean.
Yeah.
But for $15, it's,
Nice,
Up
that's
to
just fine,
everybody.
all.
Yep.
so the motion on the floor is to buy them all. I'm just, let's move along here, but let's take, as it is financial, the roll call vote, Ms. Arp,
Yes.
Ms. Ensley,
Yes.
Ms. Powland. Ms.
Yes.
Powland, Ms. Howland,
Yes.
Ms. Powell,
Yes.
and Mr. Ringler votes yes. All right, thank you.
Wrangler, would it be safe to budget about $50 for that then?
Yeah, that would be a $50 budget item. It's been 15 for a long, long time, so. All right, discussions on 2023 social district.
So as you guys know, I proposed to the city council last year, significantly broader social district hours, and they decided against it. So I'm bringing it back to you for another recommendation. I suspect it's gonna be similarly broad. You know, I don't know what the city council's issue or concern is. We've had virtually no problems in the, 3 years now this has been ongoing. I'm hopeful, especially with the development of the Pocket Park, 17 North Main, that maybe the city council see a little bit more value to allowing people to have a beer or a drink out on Main Street. So I guess you guys have specific days and hours that you'd like and or other proposed changes to the social district.
I would again advocate for having it every day. I think last year we added 2 additional days is where it ended up, and it creates confusion. People don't know, they walk out. I mean, we had a devil of a time on Red Flannel Day, getting people to keep their drinks inside because they think it's okay. And that obviously creates a risk for our businesses. It's absolutely silly that it wouldn't be. It happens in most other towns and there's 0 problems. So if we want to either do it or not do it, but I
Sorry, would you be advocating for every day
would be advocating for every day.
or just during the summer? Because that's what we've done in the past, just for the summer. You think people would take advantage of it in the fall and the winter?
There may occasionally be events. We're gonna have one this Saturday where we're gonna be shucking oysters, and why not?
Looking to clarify.
Yep, that's my personal opinion. It's not, I'm not speaking for the board.
You probably don't see a lot of people who just randomly grab a beer and then walk up and down the street.
Weather's gonna take care of it by and large anyway. People aren't gonna be sitting in a pocket park either in January, most likely, but if they do wanna bring a little,
I don't know, your beer is good enough, I would.
we have ice beer sometimes too, why not? But point of it is, I just don't see the prohibition, and when there are events, it creates confusion.
Great.
And that's what ends up getting us in trouble, because then we're either risking a fine, or we're pissing people off because we have to explain to them, sorry, you can't do that, it's not our call, but they're still mad at us.
What about hours?
Noon to 9.
Yeah, I would feel like that's our basic business hours. We're open till 9 o'clock, so.
Why not say 10 so you give people, I mean, I don't know.
You can see that during the summertime, but during this time of year, I don't
Yeah.
think 10 o'clock is even necessary.
I think in the summer.
You guys are awake at 10 o'clock?
Well, again, for me, just clarity, it's every day from X to X, done, because when you start saying except for Saturdays or fun days or this Tuesday or every other, people are confused. It does not work, and it's pointless. So it just needs to be, that's what it is.
But I sure hope the city council hears that.
I'm just one of 7.
I can come speak when you do the vote, but
Never can.
That would be helpful. I think anybody that,
Anybody that has a business that sells alcohol. maybe
Yeah.
they should.
And one thing you need to know is a lot of
Right.
people are bringing their own.
Well, I mean,
So, it's just something to think of when I've noticed more and more often down at the concerts, people are just bringing their own cooler full of beer and wine.
they're not
whatever.
supposed to do, but
Or it's hard getting enforcement too sometimes.
We have to either enforce it or not enforce it. It's just the deal.
I think we had pretty strong opposition on the council about prohibiting coolers, did we not?
So are we, some people do bring refreshments, food and drinks for their kids. Are we gonna have that going on? We have to really think about that because it's becoming fairly normal.
And of course, I mean, I don't want to get into it, but enforcement's difficult even on the best days.
Right?
We could pay a police officer $100 an hour to go to a concert for $200 for maybe catching one person.
Right.
The hope is that people will enjoy the atmosphere and they'll be able to grab a drink at the brewery or the Redbird. We don't want to make it a hassle. We don't want to have people getting screamed at.
Right.
has
Well,
there
I personally-
previously been any problem at any of these activities?
Well, no, outside of what she's saying, and I don't have a
That's what I'm
problem with that actually either personally, but the
I've
state
seen more
law
trouble on
is.
Red Flannel days. They
The
come in.
state
drunk,
law
falling over
is that when
stuff.
you do social districts, they have to come from a licensed establishment. And one that sticks in our craw, on the guild level, we're trying to get changed, is that you have to use a disposable plastic cup, which is completely wasteful and leads to trash, but that's what the law is. So
Yeah.
you can't bring your own personal containers in these, but people do.
Right.
Just out of curiosity, Mr. Wrangler, what would you use other than a plastic cup?
A reusable container.
Soft plastic type reusable container? Well, because I'm thinking I would hate to see like glass containers in the park.
Well, and again, this gets into a state issue that we're lobbying on behalf of the guild, but environmentally, what I hate even more is broken plastic cups all over a park and on the street.
Right. They're like reusable
Yeah, reusable cups would be what
Plastic
we'd be
cup,
talking
yeah.
about, so.
gelato.
Taking a measured pour and
Yeah,
there you go.
a lot of people use them.
Anyway, do we have a recommendation as a board to get back to the point of order here?
Heard every day noon to 9.
Correct.
Somebody want to make that as a motion?
Or if anybody has anything different?
I
Or I
think it'd be later.
Or I could bring.
I do too. I
Time.
think it should
I-
be later,
I mean, in the
especially your summer
summertime,
months.
9
Yeah.
o'clock, Like, I
I'm
mean,
fine with it.
how often are like if we do a.
Daily
event,
noon to 10?
Yeah,
Is that your
Would you be
motion?
making a motion?
yes, I'm making a motion, noon to 10.
Have a second.
Second,
Okay, as for discussion about council, the council decided it to not be, to be from like 4 or 5 till later.
Right.
They wanted it to be more of a happy hour type situation.
This
Well, I
is a
can say-
this is a recommendation from our board, but,
on biz.
Yeah, right, but I'm just telling you how the vote went last time.
well, they also didn't want to do it every day. They restricted it, I think, just to 2 extra days.
Right.
Which was useless. Created confusion, but,
Mhm.
so I have a motion on the floor that the recommendation from this board is daily from noon to 10. Any other discussion? Otherwise, we can do this as a voice vote. All in favor indicate please by saying aye. Any opposed, same sign. So recommendation carries. Attendance report.
So this is something that the clerk puts together on a yearly basis. She also indicated that this
Page
board
161.
specifically requested it to be put into the agenda for discussion. Something I will point out is that the mayor obviously works a day job, makes it very difficult for her outside of the community, so it makes it very difficult for her to attend. So something I've talked with both the mayor and Ms. Powell about is currently Ms. Powell serves as your citizen representative, because she lives in the district. So it's possible if we could find another person who lives in the DDA district to do a little switcheroo, have the mayor appoint Ms. Powell to be council representative, and then somebody else could take the position of citizen representative. We also, obviously, I didn't know this at the time, but have the issue of Mr. Briesinga, who has served this board well, and we appreciate that. But he's gonna have an open seat. Something I thought might be a good idea is to talk to the marijuana businesses. We do have, I believe, 4 in the downtown. They're a significant and new business in the downtown. We might want to see about recruiting one of their long-term employees or managers to serve on this board to help represent their. So,
Concur. I think we have a couple people who have had 5, just looking at the chart, we missed 5, Mr. Barizinga being one last year. So obviously we face 2 issues as a board. One is to have a quorum, and we barely have a quorum today. And we did miss 1 meeting this year because we did not have a quorum, which wastes everybody's time. And obviously we're going to be more effective as a board with engaged members. So.
How is Pam feeling about this? Is she willing to?
so I spoke with her about this 3 months back or so.
Uh-huh.
Pam.
Busy.
Is aware of the issue.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, she thinks you do a great job, and I think we'd be happy having you represent the council's interest. But I'm not gonna get in between mayor and what she may or may not do.
Okay.
But, obviously, we would need to find a replacement for you as a citizen who lives in the EDA district.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I don't go door to door asking people about that. type of thing. And then, of course, there are 4 marijuana businesses. So I don't want to be picky, choosy who might best represent and who might be willing to show up for meetings.
I can think of one other person even present that lives in the district as a citizen.
Yeah, me too.
But I'm just, I mean, we all respect the mayor, but it is very difficult when the mayor is going to miss roughly half the meetings, and it makes it difficult for everybody else at that. I mean, I don't think anybody makes all of them. I know I missed one, but, again, to be effective, we need engaged members who can be here. So it's helpful if we appoint people who can make that commitment, so.
So I guess my recommendation is look for people that you might know who live in the district. And then we do have an open seat. Obviously, it doesn't have to be a marijuana business. That might be helpful, but any other businesses in the downtown district that you think might be a good addition.
For living in the district, it's living within the DDA parameters or the downtown? Okay.
And the map for that
I thought I saw one. I just know where it went.
is, I will find it for you in a minute.
Farther back.
Let's move way back towards the front. So that's gonna be page 31, 32 of your PDF. It's sideways. I apologize for that.
Well, the meetings go that way sometimes too.
It does encompass, not only Main Street, but also significant portions, all the way out towards Fifth Street. And also, I think, on the other side of First Street.
Yeah.
Okay, so at this point, we're going to start trying to think and recruit names. Okay? And if we can get some communication or feedback from the mayor would be helpful too. Do we need to really visit the attendance policy, I think, or is that kind of,
I believe that was added in just so you guys were kind of aware of the policy you guys came up with back in, I believe, 2019. So without having read it, I think you can refer to the city council, any member that you think is not meeting their obligations to the board for lack of attendance.
I'll see where I had it written. Do I see it?
What, it's on page 161, guys.
The attendance is, but is there a policy there?
The bylaws are, yeah.
169.
The bylaws start on 162.
All right.
At the attendance. Okay. No, that's more than 2 unexcused. 2 unexcused. All right, this reports, meeting index is in there. Message boards?
Yes, so kind of going along the same theme, of things that Mr. Hopkins started and also ways to advertise. Something we talked about way in the past are these message boards, similar to, I guess, the 3 little libraries that we have, where you can just put paper advertising in, the message board itself. It's sealed from the environment. And we can advertise, specifically the concerts in the park. Because I've seen people who would be in attendance at one of these concerts and not know what the schedule was. I mean, it's as silly as just having a 8x11 piece of paper with all the dates and the concerts at the amphitheater itself, so people can look at it and know it's available.
Yeah.
Was it trying to put? We got these lawn signs for the social district. I was taping the concerts on the back of that sign, but after a rain or two, I just don't have time to keep doing that.
If we got some kind of a case that we could even attach to the side of the amphitheater, I mean, we can print posters.
Yep, so the side of the amphitheater, the actual Heart of Cedar Springs sign, which is what people walk past to go between Main Street and the park. And then I also thought maybe the bathroom in the staging area. I don't remember
Let
what
me take a look and see if I can find something online that is reasonable.
So just put some, this came out of one of the catalogs I have in my office.
Oh, yeah.
But just something I thought you guys might want to consider budgeting for.
Was there one in there?
This would be page 174.
Okay, I got you.
The wall mounted ones.
Those are like almost free. Jeez.
600, 700 bucks.
Okay, correspondence, 2023 calendar, also in the packet. He makes a note of that, page 176. And city managers, DDA directors report.
I'll talk really fast. We can do it in less than 1 hour. Thank you.
That was 2 meetings. You have a report?
Done. Thank you.
Hey, trustee comments, Ms. Holland?
Good. Thank you for everybody showing up.
Zarp?
Yeah.
If we can note that I won't be here February 27th.
Rose?
I was gonna ask you today, do we have an update on the mural?
Well, nothing can happen right now.
Well, I mean, oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So that's just stalled because of that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I was wondering. It'll
Uh,
be, like finished in the spring. Thank you,
Reminder,
everybody.
reminder this weekend is up to Snow Good Party, so if you like oysters or you like stout or you like music, pop on by on Saturday. That is outdoors. Thank you all for being here. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Bam, in time. Look at
Yeah.
Good job.
that. Sports
Good job.
fans.
Fire up.
Strong finish, strong finish.
Good job.
Ms. Laura, where are you going that you had not invited me to on February 27th?
On